But anyway, yeah, I had this. I was talking to John and Ben about this idea as well. It were an idea of like collaborating with you on your idea, or just making something complimentary. Although I didn't really have, or hoping you might have some visual ideas representing this, because I'd struggle totally to do this. But I was thinking in your kind of way, trying to do these maps to represent different human interactions, I guess, in certain places. I was thinking it's literally a Talking Heads lyric from Once in a Lifetime. It just really seemed to, because that Talking Heads song, the lyric is same as it ever was all the way through. I think somehow I just feel like inadvertently for me that is like a poster child song for postmodernity. Same as it ever was, and there's a lyric in it about there is water beneath the water and above the water. And I think it's trying to illustrate this idea that if one thing's there, another thing has to be there. It's not kind of a cause and effect, but everything's kind of part of this one big whole. But the same as it ever was thing, it seems to kind of illustrate all that as this kind of,
drop in the ocean.
Yeah, it's like this is, nothing really changes. It's kind of always. But I don't know whether he's saying that. I think, or whether it's a pop song. It's a pop song, but sometimes pop lyrics can sometimes ingrain a certain way of thinking, if that's a dominant way of thinking at some point. So I thought about the title, just playing on the idea that a repetition and difference. So that's an essay by Guy Deleuze, Impenetrable. But it's this idea that in repetition, there's always something different from the thing it's repeating. It can never be purely the same ever again. Well, maybe not, but I thought about a title, same as it's ever been, but then a slight difference in the next time it repeats itself, same as it's ever been, or something, I don't know, something daft like that. But I thought about if I could figure out a way of doing this, whatever findings you get back from. If you might find time to do this thing, whatever findings you get back from it, I thought about visualising it in a different depository silts, as if you're visualising the canal's base itself. If it's based along the canal, you could have like tanks, like water tanks, but within them, like the way you get those sand art glass things where you've got all the different layers of sand and they're all kind of visually displayed. I thought you could do that in a sense of it being the canal base for whatever part of area you're documenting it. That could be like kind of almost like a sample from the canal of that area. That makes sense.
It does. Yeah, I mean that's. Yeah, and you've given me another idea, but it potentially helped me wind that in a bit. But I need to know. I would like input on which geographical location to leave it to. Where do I set the limits? Because
can we not do a mile by mile? And John's saying we should get a day in before Christmas just to do this walk, or cycle or whatever. Can we not do mile by mile, like into those things, canal, those kind of, or lock by lock, lock to lock, just like something symbolic like that.
So that would be interesting because that gives you your contour lines. So that would be interesting. I don't think there's enough locks, or there's a very tight concentration of a couple here and there, but it's not like there's a nice thing. I think it would have to be higher resolution than a mile though. Maybe every 100 metres or so.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. But I don't know if it's worth making the resolution higher in densely populated areas. I don't know.
Yeah. So you could find things that tell you how density. I mean, there's population density maps on the internet, isn't there?
And they're quite detailed. I mean, hopefully I might be able to find something even more detailed. I couldn't find my notepad when I came out. But if you imagine we've got the waterway, wherever it goes to,
draw it
maybe from Kirkstall.
I can always send you. I'll give you a pen.
Let's have a look at the general shape of it then. You know, it's whether you go to bridge that gap, to head out towards, I mean, to take the canal or the river. I think the river up until it becomes a canal, and then the canal instead of the river. It's still a canalised river. Right, so the canal.
What you think of starting it before the city centre, so kind of connect around them?
Well, the good thing about doing the canal is it potentially goes. I was going to say into Saltaire. I can't follow the route at the moment. Right, hang on.
Oh, that is a long trek. I've walked the roadway from doing that before.
So,
does it go into Saltaire?
Well, that's what I'm trying to work
Well, the
out.
River Aire obviously does, doesn't it? Because otherwise it wouldn't be called Saltaire.
I think they go up towards Belgium first. So where's that?
Appley Bridge, yeah, you're not that far up yet. It's a bit further on. No, it seems to go the same way. Because you're getting down to Shipley now. Yeah, it does.
So, if I was to straighten all that out, that would make Shipley is there. Right, Shipley to LS9.
I think that'd be a good stretch, that. If we could do it in one day.
What about south of Leeds, though? I mean, it would be interesting to have these little blips on the map that's Woodlesford and Normanton or wherever. In a way.
The funny thing about South Leeds is literally like a couple of miles out of the city centre you've got traces of old coal mines. And that's a really interesting juxtaposition to what the city centre experience is now.
Let's see if I can get a...
Just depends how long we're willing to walk if it's a really bad wintry day.
We'll have to do it in stages or something.
But is there a day you might have free, but you definitely know about? I mean, because after, apart from weekends, after next week, I will be going into university, but I've got no classes.
Well, everything's kind of changed very rapidly for me. So tomorrow morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I take my editor to work, and then I go off down to Coventry, and then I'll be working till about 5, 6-ish.
Jesus.
And then I'll come back up.
How come you've not been there today then?
Just starting tomorrow, and that's what we agreed last week. So, yeah.
So you university?
It's connected to the university. The university owns part of the business. It's called Microcab, and it's a hydrogen-powered, sort of smart car-sized vehicle, but built from the ground up. So, it's Shipley. So yeah, in a way, it'd be nice to see it sort of trail off into nothing. But where does? I mean, the air itself, and that basically just goes straight out through Woodlesford.
Joins the Calder around Castleford, doesn't it?
Castleford, yeah, straight on through Nottingley, Killington, Eggborough, around there's a lot of coals on the tracks. Oh, it'd be interesting to see all the power stations lined up. In a way, wouldn't it?
Yeah. If we
Because there's a few along there. Within,
well, sure.
and then Hull on the end. I don't know. It's a bit far, isn't it?
I'd love to follow it. I mean, I'd love to follow it all the way out to the Humber, but that might be a bit
Bit much for this
point.
mission. Yeah. How about Nottingley then?
We were an artist presentation yesterday. Apparently, the furthest bit of land, the last bit of land on the Greenwich Mean Time on the planet going northwards is Withensea in East Yorkshire, because it bends up and the land masses bend away at that point. They're either east or west. So, and which judging that the Arctic is not land. The last bit is Withensea near Sperm Point.
Right.
If you know that area.
No, not
Which
at all.
Withensea is East Yorkshire.
Yeah.
That's the last bit of land on the Mean.
Because it goes back in before it
Yeah, although it's obviously a line that the English sort of created, but
So, let's home in on this bit for a second.
I know the bit of the River Aire at Nottingham. I cycle that way when I go to York. There's a big old bridge next to it's a really weird area actually. So it's like a junction there. The A19 and the A1 and the M62. They all sort of converge at Nottingham over at River Aire. Then you've got the big is it Eggborough next to?
Yeah.
The big Eggborough.
Snaith, Eggborough, Drax in a row there.
Regarding social impact, I'm not sure, but it's a really interesting place.
So talking about silt build-up. Actually, I've just represented this incorrectly because I don't have to do it as a straight line, but I was originally going to straighten it out. But let's say on the south side of the river we've got our first sedimentary layer, which is also representative from the baseline of population density. And that would be colour 1, I don't know. It might not follow the river, like I say, it might be a straight line. But
Yeah.
And then the next one, income per householder per capita.
So would that be kind of like a thing, would it, say if we were looking at that there, would that be
you'd
like...
have the reflection, couldn't you? So you'd have the north side of the river or the south side on top.
Yeah.
And then...
Underneath,
so that would,
yeah.
And then again, same on that side. But with your different... whatever they work out to be, but... That's supposed to be a sign for the train station, that's how it started. It's not for any particular reason, but...
It could be amazingly there could be brilliant pieces of work these if they pull it off.
Then you've got the areas that are industrial, which there's virtually none in the north of Leeds, but there's a little bit there, out to the sides. Yeah, I could do different colours, I suppose. I don't know. The trouble is, it's all going to look very biodiversity.
Could you not have it all underneath the river shape? The river shape could actually be like kind of the top measure, and then everything underneath could be maybe. So I just thought, because that's. I'm trying to think.
Sorry, one sec. Biodiversity. Industry. These are just random things, isn't it? It's supposed to be the station. Station. So I've just homed in the centre of Leeds because obviously it's got the largest difference in things like population and biodiversity, just to illustrate. But yeah, I don't know whether to straighten it out or whether to try and follow the contours of the river, but still, it would be so much easier to straighten it out. Especially as then it would be like a side-on view of the level of the water with a reflection. Because water's
Yeah.
always level. Well, I could put step changes in where there's flux.
Could. You know, I'm trying to kind of see it as kind of something you should look at.
Like a
onwards.
section.
You can actually have water in the work. I don't know how that will work. And then have the river as kind of the top the top line, the river shape as the top line of the sediment. And then have all, I don't know if, have all the different kind of sections kind of
Could do that.
working. Would that work?
If I was to do the two sides of the river, it might not work. If I was comparing the two sides,
Right.
I don't know.
I mean,
in a way, that's the only reason I was thinking of having
yeah.
the water as a straight line to make it easy for the graphs, but also it makes it a water level and a
Yeah.
reflection. I don't know.
Or just do a really cheesy illustrative of water. Like that. Oh.
You could almost have positive things where they build up, so, well,
Have a Rorschach maybe, or I can't pronounce it, where this is the mirror image of the river facing the other way. That probably wouldn't work. Or hang on a minute. To kind of get a properly mirror, you could get that shape, that specific shape of that area's river, and then mirror it looking the other way. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that could work.
I don't know, it's a. But as I don't want to kind of take. But I think it.
The thing is with this, I like the idea of this as well, because you'd have islands potentially, where you've got lots of, you've got biodiversity. So you could end up with. So that could be an island, and that could be built upon, say, a layer of
Right, yeah.
positive thing, which is biodiversity. A high level of income, perhaps. I don't know. I don't like to bring it down to this, but it's so easy to get statistics about that. Income per capita. So where all the positive things build up, just, I don't know what else out of this like you'd really count as positive. Large population, isn't it? Industry, I don't know. I'm not sure. I have to think about that, but I like the idea of some things breaking through the water when it's almost like you're not drowning if you've got all of these things supporting this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that would have to be a very specific data set, a very specific, complex amount of data
I'm
sets.
glad you're working on this idea. I think you kind of understand these. I mean,
I need to keep it simple to make sure I get it done.
I think it can be reasonably complex, but perhaps not. Yeah, just kind of cut it off at certain points, I guess, because you could go forever with these things, couldn't you? Perhaps that's why. I don't know. I'd like to think you could do it from Nottingham all the way up to Leeds and to Saltaire, because you've literally got the entire landscape of West Yorkshire. You've
And
got
the coal transport routes as well. You would have come on it. Well, originally a lot of it would have come up Barnsley, surely, but Nottingham would have been a major turning point.
Yeah. Well, Castleford were a massive mine there. Prince of Wales Colliery, which is you can still see it. It's the M62 where the big Haribo factories are and everything near the Escape.
Oh yeah.
And there's a massive hill up the other side, and that was the Prince of Wales Colliery, which I think were the biggest colliery in the country. One of them anyway, one of the biggest deep mines, yeah. And yeah, but geographically as well, because when you're at Nottingham, you're basically not only are they kind of back in the flatlands, more or less, because I know this from cycling, the rock formation changes. You'll see it from Barnsley to Doncaster once you get past Goldthorpe, or once you get down to Conisbrough. The stone's a different colour. It goes from this colour you can see on that wall there behind us to like a really light kind of chalky colour, and that's kind of almost not on the cat. That's kind of almost where it ends.
Right, yeah.
And then I guess Saltaire's kind of Bradford's sort of the gateway to the Yorkshire Dales, isn't it? Really, that's how it's classed as.
Gateway to the Brontes.
Saltaire's. I like Saltaire. I rented to Fanny's Ale House a few times. It is a nice place.
Oh, it is. Taking all things together, how happy are you?
That was the other idea I was going to talk to you about. I don't know. I think I think it'd be too much to try and factor into this project. But I was talking to Ben about trying to make a kind of imagine trying to make a map on these three principles. Generation, class and specific environment, to map all the different ways that people communicate with each other. And we got talking about it largely because we said that there's been a shift in the way your first stage millennials communicate to the new stage millennials, if that makes sense. Those who are truly digital native to those who can be kind of after MTV and all that sort of stuff. And one thing I've not noticed for a long time is the trait that everyone used to blame on Australian soaps, but I think it was more serious. But it was that one we were on about where everyone talks like that at the end of the conversation. I'll stop doing that now, people, and it's a different sort of tone now. It's more of a disappointed tone, but a kind of a really kind of in the know. And Ben put it down to like there's a lot in tone people speaking there. You can see a lack of surprise. You can hear a lack of surprise with the digital natives. I mean that makes sense, doesn't it? There's a lack of surprise. You kind of
adrenal glands.
Yeah.
Disappeared.
Disappointment to everything. Born disappointed. But
I do want to see what.
I want to get 1 pint in. Sorry?
Okie dokie.
I thought you said don't do it.
Yeah.
I just thought to myself that that sad face that's been spray painted all over Barnsley for a long time. You'll see it's like I think like in years to come that'll be like the image that represents the austerity period in Barnsley. If it ends. I've set Guardian as my own page, but I don't know if that were a good idea. I mean, George Monbiot is one of the few people I really pay much time to in Guardian these days.
Well, I've come across a few and ones that you've sent. Really sort of. There's only a few of them that actually question the system, if you like.
George Monbiot does, but he started to do it with more of a sense of compassion, if that makes sense. Like he's trying to appeal to people's desire for a good life, saying we're not creating that, we're creating a lonely society where people distrust each other and we're actually making us all self-sick. And I think when we started to get onto that train of thought, rather than because he's written so many essays, rightfully so hard, kind of highlighting all these corporate corruptions and things that go off, which we're never told about. But I think he struck a chord more when you strike a chord more when you can relate to people, how people feel if they don't feel, if that's kind of a thing you can connect upon. Sorry, I'm insensitive.
It's difficult to know, how to represent somebody else's feeling, let alone your own feeling, let alone somebody else's.
I think you've got to. My friend wrote a blog called A Wager on a Shared Experience, and I guess he was saying there's an element to kind of, not bravery, but you're kind of throwing yourself out there by trying to do that, and you're leaving yourself exposed to kind of attack, really. But in that, what artists and people and writers try to do, they try to connect with people that might be feeling the same. And then I think there's a lot of kind of scope for that, but there again, far right white supremacists might think the same.
I know I've said it before, but I think sometimes it's just that the 0 point of the frame of reference for most people is now so far to the right in the Generation X, our generation, my generation, whichever. Millennials, they're so skewed that they can't really, collective project-based economy in society or individualistic.
I think I agree with you on that. But I think on the kind of the majority of young people aren't racist. They're not particularly sexist, to be honest. The majority of young people, but what they do, but they see both of those things through the kind of through the goggles of identitarianism, minus kind of idea of it being kind of involved in any collectivity. So they see racism kind of apply for one man who wants to kind of live like another man, rather than in a kind of competitive individualistic society. But I think, I kind of get when I'm feeling more optimistic, I feel that it's breaking down that larger because the kind of the isolation and loneliness that kind of precipitates, especially when people are doing most of their interaction on social media, competitive social media interaction. And because that's kind of how that social media, in my opinion, is kind of developed out of that culture, that they can't communicate any other way. It's almost coded into whatever they type in. It comes out as a kind of "I'm better than you." That I think it's making. I think I'm hoping that in that thing I was talking about, that kind of lack of surprise in the way people speak, but there's a slow rejection of it. Interesting, isn't it? How it's the archipelago, or kind of what Spain looks like. It's peninsula, isn't it? Peninsula, and on these maps, it seems to be the peninsula and archipelago countries that seem to get shrunk.
Best go back, to be honest, I'm afraid.
It's fine.
I've got size
While you work, you've got to go up early, haven't you?
Yeah. Need to put my clothes ready and all that kind of stuff before I even. That's a fascinating book. So, does it go into the method or metric of how the process by which he develops them?
I'm not sure.
Looks like it should do on page 2. We'll pick you up at Leeds on the way. It'd be nice to do it by boat one day.
Oh, up the river.
Down and back up, yeah. Well, I wouldn't be able to go up from Leeds, I suppose, but down.
Can't you get through Leeds City Centre on a boat?
Yeah, oh yeah, I suppose, yeah, not. Yeah. I had no idea though. Last time I was in Leeds, we could do the stretch from one side, sort of say the north side of Leeds City Centre, completely miss out Leeds City Centre because we know all the pubs there next to the river and so on anyway. Yeah, you could potentially stop off for one, but I think we've got plenty of other pubs. So pretty much get on the water taxi next to the up past Granary Wharf, near the back of the station, I can't remember the name. Get the water taxi from there all the way down to
Can you choose where it goes?
somewhere. Depends what time it is, and one of the drivers is a mate of mine. And if it's out of hours and so on, if I ask them to sort of pre-arrange it, things like that, could potentially go through the city centre on a boat instead on a water taxi.
I've never been on that. Is it popular?
Certain times it seems to be used quite a bit. I'm not sure if that's just tourists and so on. I mean, they've got a lot of incentives where if you get on it, if you go from a train station, I think, to either way up to a certain distance, you can go for free, but the council pay the water taxi for taking you to and from 2 or 3 specific locations.
Yeah.
I can't remember the detail. It's on the interweb. Anyway, yeah. So when you say meet up, that's the meet up for the walk.
Yeah. Mainly, but it doesn't have to be like some kind of
No, it doesn't have to be an outing.
immiserating thing. There can be, you could stop off at a place and maybe get some food somewhere or whatever. I mean, I know full well that when you do try and map things when you're exhausted and hungry, it definitely kind of gives a very different perspective on things.
Well, that's why I was hoping. I wanted to do it the other day, but I've actually been getting quite a bit of work done on the boat the last few times I've been over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to pick a day when. You see, for example, it's quite likely that Marianne will be at work next Sunday and the Sunday afterwards, so both could be quite possible for me, but without interruption. The trouble is, I don't know what the buses are like on her way back on a Sunday evening, but she can get a taxi or something anyway, I suppose. And then the question is what time to start, because we won't be able to see much after 3:30 anyway, come to think of it.
Yeah. What's the trains on? Are you staying away from trains?
No, not deliberately. I just haven't run in a car. Unfortunately, it works out cheaper when you've already run it to get over to these places. But hopefully, in 2 weeks' time, I should have a hydrogen-powered electric vehicle which I can charge up in Sheffield.
I didn't realise you were getting that.
Yeah,
Have you told me that earlier? Sorry,
certain
words I can't.
That's who I'm working with, but yeah, I'm supposed to get one of their test vehicles. I don't know when exactly, so that'll be cool.